You're listening to the Cyberwire Network, powered by N2K.
The IT world used to be simpler. You only had to secure and manage environments that you controlled. Then came new technologies and new ways to work. Now, employees, apps, and networks are everywhere. This means poor visibility, security gaps, and added risk. That's why Cloudflare created the first-ever connectivity cloud. Visit cloudflare.com to protect your business everywhere you do business.
We don't see QR codes being attached or shared, but it is becoming more prevalent in our day-to-day lives. When we are going to even certain restaurants, they don't even have a menu anymore. They give you a QR code. And when it comes to emails, more and more companies are trying to use QR codes, but it's a fast way to engage.
That's Adam Khan, VP of Security Operations at Barracuda. The research we're discussing today is titled The Evolving Use of QR Codes in Phishing Attacks.
You know, as tactics are evolving when it comes to phishing, and our researchers are always digging into how cyber criminals are advancing and utilizing new tactics and techniques. And the data that proves over, as you saw in the article, over 500,000 emails that were analyzed that had PDF documents, and even the emails themselves had QR codes included in them, impersonating legitimate brands such as Microsoft, including the tools within Microsoft such as SharePoint or OneDrive, and even companies like DocuSign or Adobe are being utilized by these cyber criminals to execute QR phishing attacks. So obviously, it's not very commonly known, and it was really the data kind of resonated overall how it's kind of growing over time.
Well, before we dig into some of the specifics from the report, for folks who may not be familiar with this particular kind of phishing, it's often called quishing, QR code phishing. I think most folks are familiar with what a QR code is at this point, but how typically does a QR code get attached to a phishing attack?
So it's obviously not a normal thing, right? We don't see QR codes being attached or shared, but it is becoming more prevalent in our day-to-day lives. When we are going to even certain restaurants, they don't even have a menu anymore. They give you a QR code. And when it comes to emails, more and more companies are trying to use QR codes, but it's a fast way to engage with users and get them to either buy their products or learn about some of their services. And as this is happening, cyber criminals are actually taking advantage of those tactics and being able to utilize. So, yeah, it's kind of becoming more and more norm publicly, and now businesses are utilizing those as well.
Well, let's dig into the research here together. You all took a sort of an extended look at phishing emails that had QR codes embedded in them.
Yeah, that's correct. So we actually did the research from all the way from 2024 and 20 from June to September's end. And over, like I said, 500,000 emails that had PDF attachments and QR codes embedded in them. And they're impersonating legitimate brands such as Microsoft. It's a public company that a lot of people are utilizing their products and services, especially in the business sector. And it becomes an easy tactic for attackers to engage users into utilizing verbiage such as urgency to take some of those actions. And the research found that Microsoft was about 51% of the overall QR code attacks that we've been able to attribute to. followed by 31% to DocuSign, and 15% were attributed to Adobe.
And what do these typically look like? I mean, are they impersonating login pages of these popular brands? How does it shape up here?
Great question. So these cyber criminals are tricking victims by sending them basically a one-pager document, right? Or embedding the QR code within the email itself. They're asking users to verify their accounts or reactivate their MFA or review a document via DocuSign or Adobe. And the way it looks like, you will have a message from the attacker, and this could be a spoofed email that they could do. They could utilize to generate this email, and they'll embed some the QR code in the email itself or the attachment. And the attachment basically has, hey, this is a message from your administrator or from Microsoft, the vendor itself, asking you to verify your credentials or reactivate your MFA. And when the users are utilizing their phones, they're urged to use their phone's camera to scan the QR code, which takes them to an actual malicious website where these attackers are able to get their login credentials or distribute malware on the mobile device or take them to a fake payment portal site.
We'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
You know, it's interesting when I think about the evolution of some of these attacks. You know, we've said for years, never click the links. And I think we would give folks advice that, if there's a link in an email or something like that, hover over that link so you can see what the actual URL is beneath the text of the link. But it seems to me that in some ways QR codes kind of short circuit that kind of scrutiny.
Absolutely, yeah. It's bypassing the whole, concept of embedding URLs inside, some sort of image. You actually have an image, which is the QR code, which is taking you to another site. So it becomes very tricky for users to kind of being able to see, okay, this is a phishing email, or this is something that's malicious, and I shouldn't engage with it. So yeah, it's definitely a new tactic, and it's very clever that these cyber criminals are utilizing.
Does using QR codes make it easier for these messages to bypass, say, spam filters?
To a certain extent, it does, right? Spam filters are basically looking at certain content on and certain URLs and certain domains. But like when you look at advanced email protection software, and then that's actually utilizing AI to do image recognition. When it sees images such as QR codes, it's able to block them before it reaches the user's email.
So what are your recommendations then? I mean, based on the information you all have gathered here, how should folks go about best protecting themselves?
So I think there's a couple of things users need to look at, right? So one of the first things is look at unexpected emails, like receiving an email with a QR code from an unfamiliar email address, especially if it contains unsolicited attachment and link, is a red flag, right? You're getting it from an untrusted source, let's say. Getting it from a source that you're not familiar with is another one. Promotion offers is another big thing. I know it's very tempting, some of these QR codes that are being sent, and the offers seem to be too good to be true, and they're often presented with a QR code to trap the user. And there's, again, some suspicious messages that could be sent where they're asking you to take immediate action. and payment. I think these all kind of fall into the user awareness and training category. So making sure the users understand what QR code phishing is, what type of tactics are utilized, and how to go about protecting against those is key. So that I would put that in one category. The other thing is utilizing a multi-layer email security that leverages AI. These tactics are so advanced, and like you mentioned, spam filters only are going after certain domains and certain artifacts within the email. But when you have images, and AI is, as we've seen, is really good at analyzing these images, being able to decipher between a legitimate one and a malicious one. So having a multi-layered security helps protect against these attacks before they reach the users themselves. And lastly, I would say, can't stress enough, there's so many organizations, Dave, that I deal with on an ongoing basis that still don't have MFA enabled across the entire infrastructure, right? Protecting against not just QR code phishing, but against multiple attacks. So those are the three big buckets, I would say.
Our thanks to Adam Kahn from Barracuda for joining us. The research is titled The Evolving Use of QR Codes in Phishing Attacks. We'll have a link in the show notes. That's Research Saturday, brought to you by N2K Cyberwire. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your favorite podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to cyberwire@n2k.com. We're privileged that N2K Cyberwire is part of the daily routine of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. This episode was produced by Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Our executive editor is Brandon Karp. Simone Petrella is our president, Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here next time.